Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Good, and joining me this week are returning and incredibly special guests, Bruce and Connie from Unlocking the Magic. Bruce and Connie, how are you guys doing today?
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We're doing really well. Excited to be here. Love your show. Love hanging out with you whenever we get the chance. So.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy, for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having us back again for a second time. Very much appreciated.
I feel honored. We're back.
I know.
Like, that's a big deal.
Well, I'm the honored one because, like, you guys coming back to this, it, like, makes me feel good that there's, like, a return customer type of thing. It's like, Bruce, you said you've been in the restaurant business, so have I. So, like, when you get someone to come back, you're like, I'm doing something right. Or they're just checking back in to see what happened. But, yes, I appreciate you guys
or you're
being
really
here.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like, I'm nuts. So it's like, oh, wow. Like, I want to know, is this guy still in business? He's still going. But for anybody who is unfamiliar with Unlocking the Magic, I tried to say the title the way you say it, Connie, on your show, because I really like the cadence of it. It's really good. But for people who don't know, it's these two right here. They're talking about Walt Disney World, Disneyland, just Disney stuff in general. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts like this, but one thing I love so much, and the reason you guys are probably my favorite, is how, like, straightforward, down-to-earth, and realistic you guys are. Because, like, a lot of times, I think, with Disney stuff, a lot of people kind of get put off because people maybe are too enthusiastic or too overtly energetic, but you guys are very much like, here's what happened, like, here's how I feel, you know, it's tempered, and I really appreciate that. It's really good.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, he's the grumpy one, so it balances me out. I'm just kidding.
I think it's a good balance. Like, she wants to make everybody put a smile on everybody's face, and not that I don't, but you gotta, sometimes not everything is perfect.
He's fast and I'm weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Works.
That's hilarious. What a great little Age of Ultron reference. I do. Yeah, I understood that reference. There we go. I can get my cap stuff in here today. But so if you guys want, please go check out, and I will talk about them again later at the very end, but please go check out Unlocking the Magic. They also have a YouTube channel where they do some kind of live versions of their show, or they kind of do pre-recorded, like 10 to 15 minute kind of topics of conversation. The one they just did recently, and I commented on, was talking about attractions at Disney at night, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. It is like, because rides and the world just change at Disney at night. There's something just magical about it. It's like, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
And there's a few that are better at night, right? Like there's a few of them that are much better at night than they are during the day. So it's like two different parks, one during the day and one at night.
Yeah.
Yes, so you guys should check.
That was fun.
Yeah, oh, total. Well, Connie, you brought up Tomorrowland, which I should have thought of immediately. But for me, I always think of like Frontierland because it's like so devastating in the heat in the middle of the day. But if you go over there at night, there's like nobody there, and it's like kind of quiet, like a ghost town, and you're like, oh, it's kind of like I like this. It's amazing, so cool. Less. There's not a lot of shade over in Frontierland, but I think that's intentional. So
it definitely makes you feel like you're in the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. But anyway, so go check that out, please. And if you enjoy their stuff, please subscribe to them. Just tell them Jimmy sent you. Either way, today we're going to be talking about the one and only. Yeah, do it. We're going to talk about WandaVision here today, the first Marvel television show that's coming out, or that did come out on Disney Plus. It's the first of its kind, you know, following the success of both The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, and because of all the craziness in the world, it's getting kind of backed up against that, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming after that, and then Loki after that. So lots of Marvel stuff coming at your face right now. So we're going to go full spoilers. We're probably going to jump around a lot because this show kind of jumps around a lot, and I don't want to like tie Bruce and Connie into or paint them into a corner and be like, all right, talk about this show without spoiling, you know, anything, and just kind of say the things you like without saying, you know, giving anything away. It'd be hard to do that for this one because it's just so steeped, you know, in secret. So today that's what we're going to do.
You get enough time to give you enough time to for no spoilers. Like if you at this point, if you haven't seen it, you know what? You deserve to hear spoilers.
Exactly. That's true. It's been like 8 or 9 weeks, guys. It's come out, it's been on, you've had your chance. And for people who haven't seen it yet, potentially, or have watched it and are kind of like, I should go back and see the Scarlet Witch stuff or the Wanda stuff, the movies that kind of, you know, have her in it. Age of Ultron, that was her first appearance. Then she's in Captain America Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. So just kind of those 4 main films if you want to get your Wanda fix. Maybe not your Pietro fix. I'm so sorry, Pietro. We got to do these jokes now. But anyway, so this show is very strange. And I remember listening to you guys, Bruce and Connie, talk about this. And Bruce, you watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes and you were like, I don't know if I'm in on this. right? Were you kind of like, I'm not sure. What changed?
I forced him to watch.
Yeah, she definitely forced me to watch it. But I think there was some things that, first of all, I have faith in Marvel. I have faith in Marvel that they're going to put up a good product out there. So that kind of kept me going because I've seen all of the Marvel movies and I know that they're pretty good. Pretty good, I mean, really good. You know? So I have faith in the writers. I have faith in the storytelling. But the first 2 episodes, and we've got a question like this all the time because we talk about this on our podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of people message us and they're like, I started the first 2 episodes of Wanda and it's not what I expected. Should I keep going? And I'm like, you know what? Watch the 3rd one because in the 3rd one, a couple things happened that kind of piqued my interest that are more exciting than just the old version of TV shows. And that's when they kind of like, all right, the 3rd one was like, all right, I'll give it one more. And then every episode just seemed to get better and better and better before you know it, you're at the end and you've made your way through it.
But it's also like the platform that was on, it was new to us too. So we weren't really sure. Like I basically forced Bruce to watch, but at the same time, I was kind of nervous. Like, is this going to be something that I'm going to be able to watch with him long term? You know, are we going to make it to episode 2 or 3 or 4?
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's what really attracts me to Marvel in the first place is it's like finally a place where we can both go and really enjoy ourselves, kind of take our mind off of the everyday.
Yeah. I don't think, if The Mandalorian wasn't as good as it was, I don't think I would have watched WandaVision.
Yeah, maybe.
Really?
That's,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think
that makes sense.
Because I'm not a huge TV show kind of person to watch a series where I have to continuously watch them before I get to a finish line. But The Mandalorian changed that for me. The Mandalorian was so good that came out on Disney Plus that I'm like, you know what? I'll give any TV series a shot now.
That broke the ice, I guess. Yeah.
But
the first 2 episodes of WandaVision almost ruined it.
Well, yeah, that's kind of interesting because it was they came out those first 2 as a clump, right? So you probably watched them back to back and you were like, is this what the show's going to be? Like, I'm not really in.
I was like, I'm out. After the 2nd episode, I'm out. I'm out.
I loved it because I love that time period. Like I always say I should have been a teenager or whatever in that time period. So I felt like I was obsessed with the set. I was obsessed with the whole, just everything about it.
You enjoy those old TV shows like The Honeymooners and like those old TV shows from the 50s and 60s. Like you enjoy that. So that was like right in your, if the whole show was that, you would have been fine.
So back when I was a little kid, one of the reasons why I love those shows is number one, my dad loved those type of shows, but also I was allowed to stay up really late as a young kid and like during the weekends or whatever. And so I found that when I was watching regular TV, there would be like this advertisement for a new, like the latest horror flick. And then I would lose it and I would like not be able to sleep all night. So I found a channel back when I was little that just broadcasted all these types of shows 24/7, and that's kind of how I started getting addicted to them. So I felt very comforted, let's just say, in the beginning 2 episodes of WandaVision.
I didn't.
No.
That's a good thing though, because it starts off obviously very much in that way, and I think a lot of people who maybe start watching it, I don't know if there was a lot of people who haven't seen a lot of Marvel stuff and started watching this show and was like, oh, this would be kind of a fun little sitcom, because it definitely shifts over to pure Marvel, movie at the end. If you look back to where it starts, you're like, wow, they've moved, they've transitioned quite a bit. But Connie, that's a beautiful little story why you like love that. That's so quaint. I love that. Connie, you're the type of person that probably misses like curtains on an airplane. Am I right? Like, do you miss like the little the old fashioned
and dressing up?
Dressing up to get on an airplane.
Extremely old fashioned.
I love it.
I don't
That's
even
so
know.
great.
It's based on my dad too, like 99% of it. But then again, those shows, like that's kind of how I grew up and kind of shaped my whole life based on those shows.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
And Bruce, you make a great point because, like you said, a lot of people were asking you or kind of saying I was out. I've heard a lot of other people who were saying they were out. And one kind of version I heard about for this, if people want to try and check it out, they haven't yet, is you start by watching episode 3 or 4, and that kind of gives you a little bit more information. And then you could go back and watch 1 and 2 and be like, okay, it's going to get to what I'm used to with the aspect ratio changes and stuff.
Right.
And it'll
Jimmy,
be
let me
more
ask
what I
you
expect.
this.
Yes.
Do you think people have to watch episode 1 and 2?
yes.
Do
Do you want me to kick him off?
No, this is a great question. I love being asked the question.
Right.
That's a good question because obviously they kind of piecemeal some information. I don't know if it's as necessary as future episodes are. I would say to watch the whole thing, but if people are like, I don't know if I can do the old school stuff and they don't get a kick out of it the same way, it might not be as appealing to them and they might fall off. So I don't know. I just want to have them watch the show, whatever gets them in the gateway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't find anything in those first 2 episodes that, because I know the Marvel movies pretty well. Like, I'm not an expert and I don't remember everything, but I know it pretty well. I didn't find anything in those first 2 episodes that connected 3 through, what is there, 9 or 10 of them?
9, yeah.
9.
Yeah, so I didn't find anything that you have to watch in 1 or 2 in order to not be able to pick up on number 3 and kind of figure out, other than like where they are and like
Sure.
the scene changes.
When that scene, what number was it where the scene where there was the choking, the gas, they were entertaining the dinner
I
gas?
think that might be is that number 1 or 2? It's one of, it
It
might
was
be
1 or 2, right?
Where his boss comes over.
The boss comes
surreal.
over, and so that. Yeah, that was very Twilight Zone type of spooky that I feel like you do need. Like
but it's so small a part of that show that if you're familiar with Marvel, you don't need that.
We're gonna disagree on that. Right. So sorry.
I love it. I love being in the middle. This is fantastic. No,
choose. Help us choose.
Yes, I say both. No, I understand where you're both coming from totally on this one, because it's like when I was going back watching like a recap today and I saw that scene you're talking about, and I remember seeing that like the first episode, I was like, oh, now it's going. I feel like they put that moment in for all the Marvel fans who were like, is this just gonna be like a joke? Yeah, it's like something better happened. It's like, oh, someone's choking. It's like, well, all right, I'm gonna sit forward, and you're like, what's happening here? And then it's like, oh, nothing. And you're like, oh,
right.
Okay, well, guess we're coming back to this later. So, that's
exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, right. And then you get like the little after credits things, which only started after like season or episode 4 or something like that. They started putting like the little after credit, like 10-second scenes, which drove me nuts because at the end it was always like, you have 7 minutes left. I'm like, of credits. I was like, guys, you're killing me. I was like,
I know those are the longest credits on any TV show I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but coolest credits. Like I loved the music and the way they had the image. Yeah, I liked it.
I didn't like turning on the TV and be like, oh, it's a 45-minute episode. Then at 30 minutes, it's over.
True.
Like, what happened?
I guess that's true. It's like, right. Yeah.
We're spoiled on Mandalorian, where it's like, I think it does it, and it doesn't have that like long of credits at the end, and you're like, this is the, and you're like, oh, it's like a 42-minute episode, and you're like, all right, sounds good, because there were rumors floating around that like the last episode of this show was going to be like an hour and a half long, and I was like, I think people are getting ahead of themselves here, but maybe, who knows?
I'm weird too. I love credits. I love seeing everybody's name. I don't know. It's just always been like super fascinating to see how many people worked on the show.
It is interesting, but boring.
But boring. Yeah. I'm the only one that likes it.
No, that makes total sense. I love just over the years watching how many more VFX artists have like popped up on the screens for like movies, because it used to just be like a couple, and then now it's just like a wall of text that goes for like 20 seconds now, and you're like, well,
no, I feel bad for those people.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you need your time.
Like if you pause it at the 39-minute mark, I am the 27th line down, 4th person in.
That's so
it's
true.
Fine. Then you get somebody like me that will notice it, so it's fine.
Exactly.
You're pausing it.
So after those first couple of episodes, because the first one is kind of more Dick Van Dyke Show, second one is a little more Bewitched style. Then it starts to transition a little more. Like we said, that's episode 3 and 4. We're getting into like the 70s, the 80s now. But for you guys, like Connie, it sounds like you really enjoyed the old-fashioned ones like that. Or those ones, as far as the setting, your favorite? And then I got to hear what Bruce's were.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
100%. Actually, I was bummed when it moved on. I know it had to, but I was like, oh, I loved it. I loved the Dick Van Dyke. And then, of course, like the Bewitched, that's just all up my alley. So it was a little heartbroken when they had to go. It just seemed like, I don't know, the transition becomes when it gets to like the Modern Family, just like she's like sloppy looking, and I'm like, oh, I missed it when you were like
she's done.
Yeah, she's done.
Yeah.
Not that I'm ever dressed up or whatever, but it's just fun to see,
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
I can definitely relate to the Modern Family lady, but
listen, I know it was part of the story. I could have done totally without those first 2 episodes.
Okay.
Started on episode number 3 for me. That would have been perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Which one was your favorite? What was your favorite intro though, Bruce, or like theme or setting for it? Was there one that was Modern Family, the one that stuck out for you, kind of Modern Family-esque, or maybe Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah, probably that.
Okay.
I didn't watch TV shows like that when I was a kid, so the one that was most familiar to me was probably that one.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
I'm cool with the commercials too. Like they went full.
Or I almost feel like, was there a Brady Bunch one too?
That was kind of like the 70s one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
Maybe that one was like, between that one and Modern Family was probably the one that were 2 most familiar to me.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that too. But I just loved how they added the commercials. Like that was really, incredible that they thought to do that.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Like in the episodes themselves, and they had the old school. I don't know. It was cool.
For sure. You beat me to the punch, Connie. I was going to say, I was going to talk about
sorry.
the commercials. No, it's great. We're synced. You know what I mean? I love it. But those commercials, I thought they were really fun too, because sometimes it seemed very much like, oh, this could tie in, or they said Stark Industries or something like that. And other times it felt like it was just completely like the Malcolm in the Middle one was like very 90s, like a yogurt commercial or whatever that one was. And I was like, for me, I was like, oh my gosh, this kind of freaking me out as like they got tasked with redoing these things from the past, but doing their own version. I was like, guys, you did such a good job. Like, But the problem is you can't really do it again. That's the thing with this. Like you can do it once. I don't think you could ever replicate this, authentically. I don't know if you guys feel that you could. Maybe you could.
Yeah. I agree.
No, I think creatively you got to do something different, right? Like even Walt Disney himself said he never liked to do sequels because he didn't want to repeat something that he's done in the past. He always wanted to move forward and do something new. So I think that this was a one-of-a-kind experience. It was a success. It was like, I thought it was captivating after the second episode. And I think they should just check it off their list and go on to the next creative task they have to do.
Yeah,
which is probably exciting for them too. Like it just brings everybody back together and have to collaborate.
It's different, right? Like this is the first time that they did something completely different. This isn't like all the Marvel movies are kind of, I don't want to say they're the same because they all have different storylines and different characters, but they're all kind of the same way that they shot, right? Theme. Like the only real different one was Thor Ragnarok compared to the first two Thors. Like that was the only one that was real different. Everything else was kind of in line. Like this is the first thing that they've done that was not in line whatsoever. And you watch it and you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah, totally. Well, you've got Connie over there who's like, how about we just do like a 1950 show with Agatha, and she's just there, and we'll just do an on-running show with just her trapped in a black and white world, and we'll just keep that going so you can get what you want.
My favorite character was Agatha. I want more Agatha.
Good. Yes, I want to talk about her because I think many people, when they think of WandaVision, you're going to think of obviously Wanda or Vision, right? Both fantastic. I give kudos to Elizabeth Olsen because I only found out recently that she's related to Mary-Kate and Ashley, and I didn't know that.
You're another person.
Yes, I did. No, I didn't, and I felt so. I was like, you know what? Congratulations, your success you've defined it yourself. It wasn't like and my twin sisters were on Full House or something.
That's actually good to know because I've always seen her as. Hold on.
She looks just like them though.
Yes, she does. She does. Very true.
Did you not know who the Olsen twins were?
I did know who the Olsen twins were. I just didn't I didn't make that connection because Olsen was like a.
Yeah.
We lost. We've lost Connie. That's okay.
She lost her earpiece.
Sorry, be right back.
She's a bad actor. She lost her earpiece. She's unprofessional.
I'm back.
No, welcome back. You didn't miss a beat. No, well, like we were just talking about, Elizabeth Olsen, like me not knowing that, and I guess a lot of people did know that, obviously, but I was just like, you know what? She's really good in her own right. I just was so happy that I didn't know that. I was like, man, good on you.
Yeah.
You're so good.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that until now because from the beginning, actually, this may come really controversial or whatever, but I never really liked Wanda in the Marvel movies.
Sure.
Like I wanted to, but I just never really understood her role really. Probably more she grew on me towards the end, I guess, when we were, I don't know, maybe more of our storyline with Vision towards the end. But I guess I was comparing her to Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen a lot because they were so talented. And then I saw her and I was like putting her up on this pedestal. But I've got to say, with WandaVision, like she totally captured my attention right away. Like she has just grown as an actor, and I feel really.
Well, it's been
really
a while
impressed.
since she first appeared, so it's been a few years that she's had to perfect her craft.
Right. Yeah.
In that accent.
In the accent.
One of my favorite lines, and see, like with some movies, I think like your Deadpools and stuff, it's very obvious when they're breaking the fourth wall. This show, it almost was like the audience members were part of it, especially when Agatha says, she's like, that accent just comes and goes, doesn't it? I was like, oh my gosh, everybody's thinking it. We're all like, bravo. Like, I love it so much. Or when they're fighting about like the Sword members or those other people are like, oh, I thought Captain Marvel was the strongest. Like, oh, I heard Scarlet Witch was the strongest. That kind of stuff. It's like the little debates that Marvel fans have. But yes, I think she's definitely coming to her own. And Paul Bettany, like that guy, like I love, you get to see him in his regular, just like his regular flesh and, hair and stuff like this. But then it's just like, all right, we're going to put you, in the Vision outfit with a sweater and then the full Vision thing. And then we're also going to put you all in white. What a guy. I'm like, good on you, man. That's not got to be fun. Right? Like,
no.
No, thank you.
That's a lot of makeup. It must have taken forever to put on and off just for a TV show.
No.
Yeah.
He's committed to that role. So
yeah, one of my favorite bits is like him during the Modern Family episode, and he's sitting and he's doing like one of the recording sessions outside like the van or whatever, and he kind of gets, so he's like, why am I doing this? And I was thinking how ridiculous that premise is in just the first place of like a documentary of a family, but then it's like the Vision sitting there like doing a little interview and being like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like I'm taking off. I love that. But Bruce, for you, which of the main players were your favorite?
Ooh,
that's a good question.
Yeah,
I like the regular people. I like the nerdy scientist lady. I don't know what her name is. With the glasses.
Darcy.
Yes.
I forget what her name is. Yeah, Darcy. I like her.
Darcy.
I think she's like sarcastic, but like normal. Like
okay,
like what I would kind of be like if I was thrown into that. If I was smart and I was thrown into that situation.
Yeah.
That's they recast Pietro, or no, she recast Pietro. That whole bit, that would be Bruce sitting there like watching this. He'd be like, "What?" Actually, Bruce, you would be bad at that because you would have been like, "She's doing like these 1950s things. I'm not watching this. I'm not. Get somebody in here who wants to watch this because I don't care."
Switch the channel on it.
They're like,
right.
Call me in a few decades. I don't know when the kids grow up. I'll come back. Like,
yeah. So I like that one. I think that's a good character. And obviously, like Wanda did a great job. I thought she was a good character in this. All the transformation she made throughout all the shows.
Yeah.
Those are my two favorite, I think.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you though. Like I thought she did a good job carrying this thing because a lot of the times with these movies, just for the Marvel stuff, it's like you get a 2.5 hour thing. This was much longer than that, and it's like you got to keep people compelled. And I thought she did a really good job because it's like that's a lot of weight to put on somebody, especially for a character that isn't as well known as some of these other ones.
Yes.
Like with Scarlet Witch, now she'll be a household name because beforehand, I'm sure Marvel considered, let's do a Scarlet Witch movie, and they're like, would enough people know what we're talking about? Now they would. If they did a movie, people would be like, oh, yeah, I love Wanda. I'll go see that, which I think would be really cool. And I also love how they kind of made her into the Incredible Hulk later on here. I made a joke about this, and then it finally happened near the end where, she's kind of feared by the government and kind of runs away and has a little cabin to herself. I was like, well, there we go. We got another fugitive superhero. It's just like old times. Yeah, I miss it. I miss that sort of thing.
Hiding out.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But so for you guys, Bruce, you got on board eventually because you were forced into it. You kind of got, through it. You've enjoyed it more so now. Was it like when you came back to, especially those last few episodes when it really transitioned, where they're talking like Wanda's kind of origin and backstory and stuff? For me, that was maybe my favorite episode. But for you guys, was that like, okay, now we're back into the Marvel? It's like watching a Marvel movie from 7, 8, 9 on kind of thing.
Yeah. It's always like, with Marvel, it's always about like, what's the tie-in to the next thing that they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I always love trying to figure that out and seeing that. So I thought that towards the end of this, they did a great job of tying into like, if it's going to be a Doctor Strange tie-in or what kind of multiverse tie-in they're going to have for the future movies. Because with Endgame, it was kind of over, right? Like everybody thought, all right, the Endgame happened. Like, what are they going to do now? How are they going to do all these different movies other than Spider-Man? But I loved how they tied it in. I love how they always tie in everything they do somehow together, even though you don't think it can be tied in. Somehow they figure it out.
Oh yeah,
it's fascinating how they can think of that, though. You know,
brilliant writers.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I saw like the TikTok of somebody showing that like the guy who plays, it's Jimmy Chu, and he was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and he's like, he learns some close-up magic or wants to learn how to do close-up magic, and then he does it throughout the show. And I was like, I would never, like when he even gives his business card, he's like, here's my business card, and you're like, what? And
it's
like
funny. I love him.
Yeah, he's pretty good too.
Yeah,
it's cool to see him.
Yeah,
I like the normal people. I like the normal people who don't have superpowers.
Yeah,
how they're like tied in and like get involved with these superheroes. It makes it relatable.
Oh yeah, totally. It's like Thunderbolt Ross back in Civil War, and he's like, "Hey, all of you guys, you probably should sign this because all of us other normal people out here, we got some problems. You kind of represent the United States, but not really, and we just need you to sign this document here." Yeah,
like Hawkeye. Hawkeye's a great superhero because he has no powers. He's just a guy with a bow and arrow. And like, there's that one scene at the end of Ultron where like the guy just like runs away.
I'm afraid of what you're doing here, but yeah, go ahead.
He runs away super fast, and he's just there alone, and he's like, all right, he just starts running like a normal person, like running towards like, all right, let's go. I guess I gotta run like a normal human being back to the staging area.
Yeah, that is a great moment. I'm glad you brought that up because it is Quicksilver, and he just pulls out his bow, and he's like, they'd never know. And he's just like, fine, I'm gonna do it. No, that's totally. Also, I'm really looking forward to that show coming up. Hawkeye and with Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld, who I really like her, both of them. I'm so excited for that show. Whenever that is, I don't know. Everything's gotten messed up, but Yeah, I'm looking forward to Hawkeye. That'll be fun. Also, saying about this, I have a quick question follow-up with you, Bruce. Sam, the Falcon, technically a regular guy, but he's got the wings.
Yes.
Does that count as a regular person for you?
Definitely.
Okay.
I like Sam. I think he's a great character.
Regular though? Like that's high. He goes up high in the air. I don't know. You gotta really.
Yeah, but he's got no superpowers. His only superpower is his lack of fear.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay.
And he's not afraid of it, and he's gonna go after it.
I love him. Yeah. I love him.
I think he does a great job. I love Sam.
I'm excited.
I'm excited to see that series that comes out too pretty soon. Actually, a couple weeks from recording this. I think next week actually.
It's crazy. They've just compiled all this stuff together, which won't normally happen. I just feel like Disney Plus wants this to be the case, so they're like, all right, every month we got to do things. People are gonna stick around.
We gotta do it.
Gotta just keep going. Gotta keep
going.
We got
nothing else to do right now.
I think Falcon's great because I think he's like a no nonsense guy too, and he's like no nonsense with the superheroes, even though he has no powers, and he's not afraid to confront these superheroes and call them out on their BS.
He's got no fear, but he's just like a very nice regular person too, and like somebody you just want to have by your side as your friend.
Yes.
Someone you can trust. So it's gonna be cool to see.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm making a through line here because I'm thinking of Winter Soldier, and I'm just thinking Bruce likes these guys who have to run like normal people, because the beginning of Winter Soldier is just him running and Cap just running past him, and he's just like, stop
on your left.
lapping me, stop.
Yeah, we say that a lot.
On your left, on your left. Oh, what a great line. Oh my gosh, they think of everything, don't they? Anyway, WandaVision, pretty good show though. People like it.
Off the rail there.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, that's what happens. What I say, like with these rivers of conversation, these are just tributaries we go off on, and then we come back to the main river. But with WandaVision, I just want to talk a little bit about the ending here. Yeah. Kind of your classic big Marvel style ending, kind of one-on-one fights everywhere. The kids are even getting in on it. It's kind of like the Incredibles for a hot second there. But I really got to say, I love how the Vision versus Vision fight ends with them talking, because that's how it would probably end, or maybe even start. Like, you'd be like, I'm not the Vision, you're the Vision kind of thing. What did you guys think about that?
I didn't expect that.
I didn't expect that, but I guess deep down, it's what I was looking for and didn't know it at the time. Like when it happened, I was like, yes, this is what I wanted and needed. But because I was taken back by the fact that they were fighting, like it was so sad to me,
Plus they're equal power. So how does one beat one up?
You can't, right? You know that they're just self-destructing right there in your face. So
yeah, I was kind of curious as to what happened to the White Vision, because I was like, he took off after they kind of talked and had a conversation, and regular Vision touched him and he brought back some memories. He kind of just took off, and then you never heard from him again throughout the whole rest of the show.
Well, I know we were talking about his last memories being in Wakanda. So maybe he went to Wakanda to go find out what happened.
Right.
Oh, sure.
I
don't know. That's
the last thing he remembered was getting killed by Thanos.
Yeah, and so maybe he needed to go there to find answers. I don't know.
Yeah,
kind of what I was thinking.
I mean, everybody seems to go to Wakanda to find answers.
Yeah, it's the place to go.
It's the place to go. The one, I need to go there because I have a question. I just want to know where Vision got money to buy a house. Because I'm like, is he siphoning it from Stark Industries? I'm like, does the government pay Vision? They're like, here's your stipend. And he's like, I'm saving up. And he's like, I'm going to put a down payment on this land. And it's like, what?
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's a good point.
Maybe he did tricks on the side of the street for some cash.
Here you go.
He's like, look at this. I can put my arm through my arm. And you're like, wow, here's $5, man. That was fantastic. Yeah, the superheroes would blow up on social media, wouldn't they? Just like, they'd be making little TikToks. He'd be like, look what I can do. I can do this, and you can't do this. And be like,
maybe they're like when Sam was talking to Captain America about what he's going to do if he leaves, like MMA. Maybe Vision went to MMA.
Yeah, MMA.
That would be option. Incredible. Oh my gosh, that's super good. They're like, nobody can touch him.
Yeah.
See, Bruce he's got a Marvel mind, and I appreciate it. I really do.
I'm really impressed. Okay. Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to talk about here with kind of the final fight is the kind of the planting of the hexes around the hex, the big kind of dome that Wanda created, and kind of learning quickly, very quick on the uptake there of how magic works, even though she didn't realize it was magic for a long time. And that kind of fight kind of playing out. I kind of figured it was going to be something where she kind of sapped the energy back from Agatha. But how did you guys feel about that? Did you like that? It was very over the top, but I think it played pretty well.
Okay. I'm rooting for Agatha. I'm sorry.
Maybe she comes nice.
I'm sorry. I am definitely half evil, half sweet. I don't know, but
Amazing.
I related to Agatha a lot. Like, so I was rooting for her. So I didn't expect actually Wanda that to happen. I didn't expect her to absorb him. It was definitely a great twist because during the scene and during the moment, and there was no hint of that really happening, in my opinion.
Yeah, it went quick. So it was a little hard for me to keep up at that point, but I figured it out at the end.
Yeah. Oh, but it was right in our face.
Yeah, absolutely. When they explained it to me afterwards. That's what I mean by that.
Oh, for sure. And as the show kind of went on, I'm sure you felt this way, especially Connie, that you're like, Agatha's really cool. I hope they don't do what they do in a lot of these Marvel things and they like kill her. And so at the end, when they didn't, I was like, thank goodness. Because I was like, because what you want to do is you want to have that rivalry or that kind of villain you can come back to, because there'll be a moment,
the villain,
later on, and another villain might do it, or maybe Wanda will say, she'll be like, I know who will know the answer in a movie, and then a jump cut to Westview, and you're like, like, she's back.
Yeah, she'll be back in some capacity for sure.
Yeah, and everyone will be Wanda treating her really weird. So good.
Exactly. Agatha is done.
Exactly. Big wink. Well, big wink.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Wanda and her brother were villains in the beginning, and then they turned. So you never know what can happen.
Totally. Yeah, and I
just really loved her role. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I thought she did it so well, and not just the villain part, but all of those things, because you have to think of like, she has to be kind of the nosy neighbor throughout the decades, and you're like, how do you play that? And she played it really, really well. And she looked like she was having a ball.
Nosy. Yeah, she was the nosy neighbor, but like it was fun. Like I didn't feel like I would be annoyed by having a neighbor like that.
I would.
You she'd be helping me out like all the time. But yeah, I could see you being like, all right, enough.
Yeah, get out of here.
Go home.
Bruce is locking the doors. She's coming over to ask for sugar, and Bruce is like, nope. Yeah. He's like, locked.
No sugar here. Yeah.
Stop walking in here unannounced.
Turn the lights off real quick. Yeah.
It's like we're fighting over the credits that are going on right now. You can't just walk in while we're doing that. Like, this is what we're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah. No, I thought she did such a great job. It was just like, man, good for her. Good for all of them to kind of like fight through the ages that way and make it compelling and cohesive, because this could have gone off the rails really quickly and people would have been like, what is happening? But I think somehow they managed to not make it that way, which is kind of incredible. So the last thing I do want to ask you guys, and I know Connie's more a Halloween person, the Halloween episode where she gets her outfit, I was like, this is maybe as far as they'll go with the outfit for her. Yeah. Then she finally gets like the legitimate one. But the Halloween episode, I was like, oh man, they're gonna like, especially Connie, the Halloween people out there are gonna be like, this is incredible. How did that play for you guys?
I mean, I love anything Halloween. So the fact that they brought the scene into Halloween was full circle for me. I loved all the costumes. Her final costume, to me, I think they nailed it. Yeah. I feel like they did the perfect blend of what a powerful woman should look like. Yeah. And I think they I don't know who did the costume design, but wow. Was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Halloween's Halloween to me. I like it because you like it.
I like Halloween 24/7, so it's a little overboard, but
yeah, they didn't do a Christmas episode for you, Bruce. Like they should have done.
I know.
Come on, guys. No, and they can't do season 2.
They didn't make it that long.
Yeah, exactly. They said series finale at the end, and I was like, that's pretty definitive. Maybe, who knows? They could change that in the future. But I don't
know how they would do a different series like that. I think if they did do another series, it would be totally different.
Yeah, which would be fine. I think that's like we talked about. It's too much to try and do this again. And what they did with it, I think, even with you look back in the earlier episodes, Connie's favorites, like the bad effects, where they would like kind of pop a thing in and out, and it looked purposely bad because they're like, well, this is what it looked like in the 50s and the 60s, and this is just what we had to do. And I'm sure some of the CGI people either loved that or hated it. They're like, I can make this look flawless, and they're like, no, make it look like it's floating on a string.
Right.
Like, just don't try too much on this one. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's so fun.
But it's a show you guys would recommend or not recommend? How do you guys, as far as the Marvel stuff goes, where does it fall for you?
What do you think, Bruce?
I mean, I've been recommending people watch it for the whole time now. I think that, the first 2 episodes when people were asking me before anything else, I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot, but I don't want to recommend it because I don't want to recommend something that's terrible. But once that 3rd and 4th episode came out, I'm like, you got to stick with it and just recommend it. I don't think you need to watch the first 2 episodes, but I think that if you are into Marvel movies, now this is the thing. If you're not into Marvel movies, I don't know if this is a series that will capture your attention.
That's a good point.
If you've never watched a Marvel movie, I would suggest you go watch a couple of those first before you just dive right into WandaVision, even though it is on Disney Plus and it's new, because I feel like you'll get lost.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think
Like I gave it a shot because I know what's going to happen, like what's coming. Like if you're not into the Marvel universe, you're like, what is going on here?
You have a high level standard for entertainment.
I would almost rather
Marvel.
you go watch Marvel movies first, because if you start with WandaVision, you may never watch a Marvel movie.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a great point. I mean, like, kind of like where it would be confusing if you thought all Marvel stuff was this way. You'd be like, so how do they format the movies? And you'd be like, it's not like this. It's very different.
Right.
Totally different.
Yeah, I'm still kind of speechless with how Wanda captured my heart at the end. Like like I said, I was never really into it. I was excited about a new show on Disney Plus because there's really nothing else going on right now. Our entertainment is, right?
Yeah, there's no new movies coming out for sure. No good new movies.
No movies. It's just like this Disney Plus has been a godsend so that we have some form of entertainment. So I was definitely willing to give it a shot, but I was really taken back of how like the quality of the show.
Well, this is great. This is the new form of entertainment. This is what's going to happen moving forward. I think you may get a combination of in theaters, but also on like they have almost 100 million subscribers to Disney Plus because of The Mandalorian and shows like WandaVision and Falcon. These are like feature-length TV shows. They've never had such high-quality TV shows come out ever.
Yeah.
20 years ago, you'd watch a TV show and you're like, that was good, but it's not like a movie.
It's funny that you say so. Kevin Feige, the producer, he did a whole write-up on the D23. If you guys want to go check that out, it's an interesting interview. Him talking about the future of Marvel and just this new way of sharing the entertainment for us, and how they're basically taking shows but putting in the efforts of a full-fledged movie. And so the process sounds really expensive actually, but it really shows. I feel like the quality of entertainment it's incredible. So.
Yeah, and I love the fact that Disney doesn't put them all out at once. Like I love the anticipation for Friday to watch that show, and you have to talk about it all week and avoid spoilers Friday if you can't watch it when it comes out. I like that. Like on Netflix, they all come out at once and you just sit there and one day it's over. Like I like the anticipation and like making it stretch out so it's like a more of a month event versus just a night event.
It helps with the day job. Like if you're like, or your week, if you're having a bad week, that there's something coming up to look forward to versus it already being so easy on your fingertips and binge watching everything at once.
Yeah, because it'll be over.
It'll be over. And like what happened to us with Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Whoops.
Oh no, you went through that pretty quick, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's nothing left. No, I totally understand that. The thing is, you have to divorce yourself from social media if you're not going to be there like that first day. True. Because it is everywhere, or YouTube and stuff. People just putting it in the thumbnails and stuff. I'm like, oh guys, stop it. But I get it. They got to get their clicks, right? Yeah, you guys make a great point though about like this is the entertainment going forward. I really wish Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was actually coming out right after this, because they're like, oh, it's going to dovetail right into that. And all I could think is like, I thought he was going to show up at the end, or I thought Magneto or maybe Ghost Rider or something. I was like, please, something. And then it was just like, nope. And I'm like, okay, it's all right. I can be patient. I can wait.
You can be patient. So that was supposed to happen seamlessly though, right? Like because of coronavirus, they couldn't have that movie out as quickly.
Yeah, I don't think they started it yet.
So that's funny that you said that, because I was talking with our older daughter and she was saying the same thing. Like, the circumstances being this, like it just kind of, it's a bummer, but at the same time I said, it's brilliant because we watched WandaVision. Now we have to wait a few years to see what else happens, but then we're probably going to rewatch WandaVision before. Like it's brilliant.
That's a good point. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it's because they also delayed like Black Widow and stuff, and because that hasn't come out yet, they're like, that's coming out before anything else, and then these other things are coming out. It's like, it's killing me. But at least these TV shows are coming together, right? Like in a clump.
Right.
That's coming up like pretty quickly. So if you didn't like this, you'll probably like Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I would imagine will not be nearly as zany or crazy. I'm sure it'll be very straightforward. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think
I'm
it's
out.
going to be.
I'm just kidding.
From the preview, from the preview so far, it looks more like Marvel-ish than this was.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, so I guess we all recommend it. But like Bruce said, this probably shouldn't be your first foray into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Probably start with something a little more grounded, maybe maybe Iron Man, maybe Captain America: The First Avenger. That's a great one everybody forgets about, but it's really good, as we've talked about in the past year. But please go check that out, and we want to know, if you guys are listening to this, what you guys thought of the show. If you liked it, if you didn't, if the first couple episodes were great, or you're like, no thanks, I'm with Bruce, we could totally skip that, and we can just move on from episode 4 on. And Connie's dying in a corner somewhere. She's like, no, those are very crucial. We need more of those. But we're going to wrap up the show here today with a little community feedback and questions here from the lovely Legionnaires. So we got one that actually was already kind of answered by Bruce. These ones come in from actually my friend I watched this with. My friend from college. She used to be my boss. Her name is Sarah. I call her boss. But she loved Scarlet Witch before Scarlet Witch was like in the mainstream at all. So I was like, you got a TV show for your favorite character. How dare you? Good for you. Very nice. But she was asking what happened to the White Vision. So are we going to say Wakanda? Is that what our guess is? Like he went to Wakanda?
He had to remember something because he took off pretty quickly. He had to like have something in his memory bank that triggered him to be like, I got to get out of here and go do something. So, I can't imagine that he'll never return. He's got to return, right?
No, but I think he definitely, what I think is that memory bank, but that's the last memory. Wouldn't it be like, it's kind of like when someone wakes up from when Captain America,
coma?
Yeah, when Captain America woke up, it's like, you just remember your last sort of thing that was happening at the time. So that's kind of where I thought of Wakanda.
For sure. And you bring up a great point there. We barely even talked about her, Monica Rambeau, but coming back from the snap, that episode where it was pretty intense, like kind of coming back after 5 years and like, your mom died a few years ago and we're really sorry about that. And she's like, I just want to know what's going on. And I was like, oh, that would be pretty freaky, that whole hospital sequence. I was like, no thanks. Like,
I forgot about that. That was a good sequence too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's played for laughs in Far From Home. It's like, the band members came back in the middle of a basketball game or something and they get knocked into each other. Right. And this, it was like true horror. Like people like, where's my wife? And you're like, I don't know. So really freaky.
Scary.
So what can Marvel and Disney do now since this show aired? What can they do? What like as far as like open-ended?
Open-ended. What could they do? What do you think?
I mean, you're going to see what they can do with Falcon, right? With the new series coming up. I think that's going to be interesting. I think we're going to be moving forward into this world of these series coming out on Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus is a pretty profitable thing for the Disney company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though movies are pretty profitable, I think they can balance the fact where they could elongate a story for Disney Plus instead of just putting a 2-hour movie out. They could make it a month or 2-month series on Disney Plus where it captures you and makes you want to subscribe and come back every single week.
I was thinking even like this whole new universe of young Avengers, like if Wanda's kids come back or whatever, like that's a whole.
I would love to see a tie into like Spider-Man, the multiverse, and like tie them all together and like the different multiverses there are out there.
That's cool.
And Venom and Spider-Man interacting with one another. I'd like to see that. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go.
I think sky's the limit right now, actually.
Yeah, I think the only thing I worry about is it getting too big and crumpling in on itself insofar as like having multiple timelines. Or for like Loki, this series that's coming up, that's not the Loki we know. It's like kind of a different Loki because he kind of like merged off from the timeline. So I wonder if they have to kind of be careful about making it still cohesive for people who want that. Or maybe it's at this point they're like, just do whatever you want to do. It's, we do a good job, but it's like,
it may be a little bit confusing. I think.
Well, that's an interesting point because part of that article I was telling you about on the D23 was Kevin saying something about he wants audiences to be able to watch a Marvel movie and not not to be forced to watch all of them.
So maybe that's the Loki theory is like you may be able to watch the Loki series without having to watch anything else.
Yeah.
And it'll attract people who are. Because we have a lot of people who listen to our podcast who email us and be like, you know what? I have never watched a Marvel movie. Do I have to watch? Where do I start? And they like, and then they get overwhelmed because there's like 37 movies. And they're like, oh man, I'm not watching 37 movies. So maybe that's a way for them to get those people to get on a series or get involved in the Marvel universe without having to go back and watch the whole catalog.
Yeah, maybe.
No, for sure. That's a great way of putting it. That's a wonderful way of putting it. And then the last kind of thing, we were talking about the kids a little bit there. The kids are coming back. They have to come back.
Yes,
I kept crossing my fingers because if I might be mistaken here, but in the comics in the past, what's happened is like when she made the children, they were actually like a part of Mephisto, which is like kind of the devil. And he comes back and he reabsorbs them. And so I was really hoping I kept saying demon babies, demon babies, demon babies. Because when they went down into Agatha's basement, I was like, I was like, oh, it's like the demon babies are happening. The demon babies did not happen yet, but a man can dream.
Okay.
And I don't know. The only reason I want Mephisto is because I really want Ghost Rider, who would kind of maybe be potentially attributed to Mephisto. That's all I really want. I just want a flaming skeleton superhero. That's too much to ask for. Is it maybe?
Look, no.
Yeah, but the
it's
kids.
Marvel. I don't think there's too much.
Yeah,
right?
but the kids coming back, you guys, I think that might be what kicks off Multiverse of Madness. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah, towards the end credits, you hear the kids and you see her eyes glowing, so you know she's in there. There was a theory that she doesn't even have a grasp of her power yet, and if she can bring them back inside of that atmosphere in which she did with Vision, she could probably bring them back to real life if she ever gets grasp of her full powers.
Right, and they have their own, like they were born with powers.
Well, they weren't born. Well, they were kind of born, but they were made.
But still, so I don't know. I feel like this could be just a huge storyline with them being more involved.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people too were hoping that this would kick off the mutants, like she would do something that would cause mutants to show up and get the whole X-Men thing, or maybe the Fantastic Four. People kept thinking they were going to show up in this or something. So I think a lot of people were waiting for that moment, and it was mostly Quicksilver from a different universe that wasn't really, that like the X-Men thing. Because I'm sure, I don't know if you guys were familiar. You guys know the X-Men movies, probably, right? Like, are you?
Yeah, I haven't watched them all. Like we have the Marvel ones, but I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
Okay, so when Quicksilver showed up, was that weird for you?
Was it weird for you?
No, I didn't even remember it, to be honest with you. What did happen?
I don't know.
I missed that. I might have been looking at my phone.
End of episode 3, I think, like the Brady Bunch one. I think he shows up and he's like, "Hey, aren't you gonna hug your brother or whatever?" And he's like the cool uncle.
Oh
brother
yeah.
Because that's how they they wanted to confuse her even more, right?
Yeah.
Is that what I? Yeah.
I get you now.
So that's why they didn't bring in the other. I forget his name. Her brother from the actual Marvel. Yeah, I think you have it right. Yeah,
maybe.
Which was confusing to me, all in all, because I actually never really got into X-Men, so I was really confused.
Maybe we need to go back and watch those.
Maybe, yeah. It's funny how I wasn't really into that, but I'm so into Marvel, anything Marvel.
I think it's because you just like more cohesive storytelling, and one person said it really well once, and this is not to knock X-Men. I love the X-Men. Like, I mean, there's Wolverine right there. But the only movie that usually matters to the X-Men is usually the one that just came before it. Like, there's a storyline kind of, but it jumps decades, and there's a lot of continuity issues. So you might not be as engrossed in it because the characters keep shifting or things change, and you're like, "What happened?" It's like, "Nah, it doesn't matter. Just keep going." Yeah. And you're like, "You know what matters?"
Yeah.
Like,
no, it matters. I pick up on that. Like, I definitely do. So that would irritate me.
Yeah, you're not invested. You're not invested. That's that's the issue, right? But anyway, so we think the kids are coming back, and then I think the last thing is, what does this style of show do for the universe? Does it give credence for Marvel to just be like, let's try whatever? Like WandaVision worked, let's go for it.
Yeah, I absolutely think this has definitely opened the door for a lot of different films. I call them films, but it's shows. Like, it really feels like a film to me. I mean, they're very high quality.
Yeah, I mean, this could have tanked, and then they would have been like, you know what, we're never doing that again. So the success of WandaVision is definitely going to leave the door open for them to be more creative. And if they wanted to try something, I think the success of WandaVision kind of gave the stamp of approval for them to be able to go ahead and try that.
How exciting.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
It's so cool. It's like, are they gonna just buy Twilight Zone and then just make a Marvel Twilight Zone, and then Tower of Terror will be solidified forever? Wouldn't that be nice? Like, I'm just like, please don't mess with it. That'd be really great. Yeah. So that's kind of WandaVision. Like we talked about, we all recommend it. It seems like it's a really interesting show and a first crack for them at doing something like an actual long running film on this TV platform that, as Bruce was talking about, I think they're over 100 million subscribers now, which is pretty nuts, because they were like, if you look at their old projections, they were like, well, we're going to try to get this many in the first year or whatever, and then pandemic happens. Everybody's like, I'll get all the streaming services, I guess. So
anything.
I mean, the Mandalorian and the WandaVision didn't hurt either. Like, it made it like, without those two things, even us, like without WandaVision and the Mandalorian, I would question my subscription to Disney
in the beginning. Well, here's the thing: like, we've seen a lot of the Imagineering was amazing. Like, we loved that, but we also come from a place where we know a lot of this history. But we were excited to share that with other people that may not have considered it before, and now that it was on the platform. So it started with that, and then once that kind of shifted, we were craving more. And then, I mean, they know what they're doing because they got our attention. So and we're kind of surrounded by Disney. You would think at some point we'd be kind of like wanting a break from it. So the fact that we subscribe and we want more, I think says a lot.
Right.
Oh, totally. And it's great that you bring up Imagineering Story because I've watched it twice now. And then I watched Disney's Animal Kingdom, which is really good too. Everybody should watch that. Yeah. It's super great. But Disney, I can't believe it. There's these YouTubers out there who are making these fantastic videos about these like specific rides. If they decided to do that, like if Disney wanted to do like hey, it's a 45-minute video about behind the scenes of Pirates of the Caribbean, everybody would be interested. It'd be like the highest quality show. You'd be like, yes, please, just do one on every single attraction. Please. Oh, why can't you do it? Yep. I would be in on that.
If they did it like the Imagineering Story. I feel like sometimes Disney can be a little bit too boring.
That's why we have our unlocking episodes. Yeah. You can go listen to those. We just need to do those in video.
Yeah, right?
Oh my gosh.
The attraction and do them there.
Which dovetails
it's hard,
perfectly.
I think.
Oh no, please continue.
Yeah. No, it's just that I think that you do have a great point. It's like there's so much history on a lot of these attractions and things that Disney has done. And I know that they want to tell the full story, but to capture your attention, to make it entertaining, I think they also struggle a little bit with that as well, because we have attention deficit issues in our household. So there's also that. So we have to kind of like marry everything kind of quickly to keep us engaged. And so I think a little bit of balance of the both could definitely go a long way for sure.
Yeah.
If they need help, I'm just saying, if anybody from Disney needs my
Exactly. And you know what, Disney, we're all here. You know, we probably do it almost pro bono. You don't have to do the cool CG intros each time. I love those things, but you don't have to do it for every, episode. We can cut some costs. Right. I'll narrate. I understand that I forget who Angela Bassett, I think they had like narrate this whole thing. It was really good. But I was like, but I imagine that she's not going to be there for every, she's like, all right, the Jungle Cruise. And I'd be like, they're like 45 minutes on Jungle
her
Cruise.
Voice.
It's very good.
So soothing,
it's very good.
Yeah.
It's like you're like, oh yeah, I just could listen to this all day. But you guys, you're talking about your unlocking the episodes, which I love. I love your unlocking episodes, but I also just love your would you rathers or unlocking the mailbag because it's just a grab bag. And I'm sure you guys answer the same questions again and again sometimes, but there's some really fun kind of would you rathers and stuff. And I love listening to those would you rathers because you guys are so brutally honest. And I really appreciate it. Like Bruce will just be like, I'm out. You'll be like, or in or out. That's just you're like, I'm out. I don't like I'm done with this type of thing.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So I really recommend I really recommend people go check them out. And you guys have a trip coming up, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Fingers crossed. Yes.
Supposedly, hopefully in May.
Yeah.
Early May, we're going to be going down there again.
Yes.
First time in a while, so it's going to be exciting.
It's been a long time, so we are hopeful that it's going to happen. We are kind of reluctant to share too much because we feel like we said it in the past and it didn't come to fruition, and it, of course, bummed everybody out. But yeah, we're aiming to get down there soon and checking everything out and just being at home again.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I may or may not also have something planned in May. I'm not saying where, though, because I don't want to give people's hopes up either. But I was just like, I'm in the same boat as you guys, where it's like, I hope it happens. Or just like either way. It's just tricky right now. And obviously, cross your fingers. And also it's, travel restrictions or, things might shift.
Right.
We don't like, I think we're all hurt now. It's been a year of being hurt. So it's just kind of like every time we get our hopes up for something, it's like dashed. And you're like, I'm not excited about this thing. I don't care if it happens or not.
Just stay neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be cool, right?
Just be cool.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to hearing, even if you guys don't go there, like you guys do such a great job of keeping the show really fun and entertaining, even if it isn't like you can report on your last trip. But like I said, before we even started today, I've been going back and listening through all of your episodes, and even if it's not just for Bruce and Connie, no, they're great. I love them. Even if it's not for Bruce and Connie, which is very contrasting as far as like, hot and cold on things, which is great. That friction makes it interesting. But there's also some fantastic episodes where you're talking to like Marty Sklar and Rolly Crump.
Yes.
Stuff like this where you're like...
Those I do recommend. Yes.
I'm like, how did you guys get these people? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
I think we were too new to even be... I think we were so new that we just went for it and didn't even realize that they would say yes or whatever. So that's the hardest thing for me, is to say, oh, don't go back to listen to old episodes, because I do know we have produced some that the audio quality wasn't great, or I just repeated myself continuously, like the same word. We call it the word of the show now. It's a joke because just whatever. But a lot of those old episodes are things like with interviews with my favorite, Rolly Crump, Marty Sklar. Oh my gosh, it's hard to pick one, but they're both so incredible. So I definitely recommend going to check those out, because it's one thing for us to talk about Walt Disney and to talk about the research that we've done, and another thing to actually hear from someone that worked with them side by side. So it's pretty cool. I was really honored for that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, well, it's cool too, because like even in the Imagineering story, you can see that when they talk about Walt, it's not like this happened decades ago. For them, it feels like they've known him since yesterday. Like, and they talk about losing him since yesterday, and you start to get teary, and you're like, oh my gosh, like oh my gosh,
totally.
It's such a really important person. And you guys really love Walt in a way that a few other people I've heard talk about, and so I really respect that, because there's many times where there's a lot of criticism thrown at him, but he's quite a legendary figure, and something that I am inspired by and is aspirational. So thank you guys for continuing to keep that. Like your Instagram posts and Twitter posts about him, I'm like, those are so great. Thank you so much for those types of things. Final question here as we wrap up. Bruce, is treating people at Disney World like it's their birthday the new Tonga toast? I need to know.
I think so. I think that's the key. I think that's the key for lack of friction with your family.
Yeah, we've kind of learned that through the coronavirus of like
low expectations.
Yeah, sort of being stuck at home. Kind of how, like, look, we're stuck at home. We're not going anywhere, and we have to make this work, right, guys?
Yep.
So how can we make it work better? And so that philosophy, I don't say that doesn't happen every day at here, but definitely something that I think we learned and that we definitely want to take with us. It's kind of like in our benefit, to be honest, because there are a lot of people that recognize us down there, and I get embarrassed if we're in a tiff.
Fair enough. Happens. No, yeah, exactly. You guys are human, you know, and I love that, like, you get these write-ins where it's like, well, I got married, my husband doesn't really like Disney, and I'm gonna bring him there, and Bruce is just like, just have low expectations. So I like to think there are these couples that go, and there's like the guy who's going with, and he's like, this is gonna be the worst thing ever. Like, it's just gonna be like just like it's like a carnival or something, and he goes, he's like, oh my gosh, it's actually pretty sweet, you know. So you get him in that way. Happen. Yeah, it probably has happened a few times now. But I appreciate you guys for coming back on the show. It's so fantastic. It's a pleasure. I really do appreciate what you guys do. And yeah, please, if you guys are listening to this week, I usually plug myself, but forget me. Check out Unlocking the Magic. No, you guys got to check them out. They're fantastic. They're on YouTube. I think on Twitter, you guys are at WDW Unlock the Magic. Is that right?
Unlock Magic, yeah.
Unlock Magic.
We're a hot mess on all our social platforms.
We started our social platforms way before we thought we would even be through episode 10.
Yeah, so they're a little bit different. Yeah. Twitter, we're WDW Unlock Magic, Unlocking the Magic Podcast on Instagram. And then everything else, I think Facebook and YouTube, and the website is Unlocking the Magic.
Yeah.
Yes, and you also have a Patreon, so if you guys listen to them for a while and you enjoy their shows on YouTube, it's free to subscribe on YouTube, but then eventually if you're like, man, I really want to support these guys, then go check them out over on Patreon and join their community. Yes, of course. You guys are fantastic. I love you guys.
We'll do anything if you pay us.
Oh, really? No, just kidding. See, that's what I think about these things. I'm like, when I'm a famous actor someday, what did Connie say? And I'll be like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, that's how I bought their friendship. No, it was like $5,000 super trip to Disneyland. I was like, they have to be my friends now. No, that's sad. At least you guys understand that there's a good Space Mountain and a not as good Space Mountain, and we both know what that is.
That is true.
If you know, you know. Either way, I appreciate you guys being on the show. I appreciate everybody who's listening. If you were just listening via just an audio version, let us know how it sounds. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below. Let us know what you thought of WandaVision, and please go check out Unlocking the Magic. Until next time, everybody. Bruce and Connie, thank you for being here. And
thank you, Jimmy.
Yes, I appreciate you guys. And remember, everybody, to adapt and overcome.